He's like, I'm fired. And I was like, what? That it was like the craziest Friday of my life. There was this customer that we'd worked for like 6 weeks with, and they'd done like a case study internally, and they were really, really psyched about what they've done with us. Our customers had pitched the time savings, all of these things to his board and his agency, and he got fired on the day. And he said that like, because the time saving was so insane and all of these things, how they've angled it, people were afraid to lose their job, right? And people started protesting. Like he said it was complete chaos. And then the board had to choose between him or the company. But I think that moment was like, fuck yes, PMF, there's something here. But he was also pretty happy. He started his own agency now and he's using us, so it's all good. I think we closed our first 15 customers just with the Figma file. There was no product, there was nothing at all. And we just told them like, hey, this is what we think the industry needs. We haven't built it yet, but here's how it will look like. Would you buy it, right? And then we actually sold it. Like, how do you structure an offer that feels like insanely stupid to say no to? That was basically like this. Let's pretend you're an agency, and I say like, okay, hey, in 2 years you will have a huge problem, right? Like, you need to change the way you work. You bill for hours, you do manual work, all of these things. There is a huge risk that you will not be an agency if you keep going the way you want to do. We think that this is the solution. We will build it for you. So one guy from Spotify who's an AI engineer who's exceptional, one guy from, has hired his own agency, worked at Google. We will work for you, for 3 months, building out the most exceptional solution for you. If it works, you pay a fraction of what you should pay if you would build it yourself. And if it doesn't, we pay all the money back. Like, that's an offer that you would probably have some like, wrong thing in your brain if you would say no to that. Don't ever outsource hiring. Never hire a recruiter. We did. Don't do that.
Did you outsource hiring?
No, yeah, we did.
Welcome, Elias.
Thank you so much.
To been there, done that.
Yeah, feels amazing.
It's awesome to have you for another episode.
Likewise.
On product market fit and everything else when it comes to building a company, hiring, etc. It's great to have you. You're building a fully autonomous, AI-driven marketing agency.
Yeah. And what a studio you have.
Like my first question, isn't this the most awesome podcast studio in the world?
It's the best one I've ever been into. It's pretty sick.
So tell us a little bit about your journey from zero to Maui.
Zero to Maui, that's a long journey. But no, it's been kind of crazy. Like, I quit my job at Google. I think it's almost a year now on the date, I think. And got this idea with Epiminds, and it's been, crazy journey. We met you from the start, I think 2 weeks in. So yeah, it's been a fun ride, and now we've been here for like 3 days in Maui. Met these like amazing people. I have gotten some crazy stories. I don't know if I can tell them, but it's been great. I talked to my friend back home, and I told him that we'd been talking with people who like shared first-hand stories about like Elon Musk, Larry Ellison, all of these like crazy things they've seen firsthand. And he was like, do you understand how insane this is that you're in Maui seeing these people? And I was like, yeah, it's pretty cool.
Pretty insane.
So it's been cool.
Yeah, and I remember like 2 weeks in when we chatted and you guys didn't even have customers and stuff.
We didn't have a company.
Customers,
yeah, we didn't have customers, but not a company. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I remember this. This was amazing. But tell us a little bit about what happened before. Like how you knew you're going to be an entrepreneur. Maybe the early evidence. A little bit about your background.
Yeah, I think the first story I told you, I got this question like, what was the first thing you hacked, or did you do something like a bit illegal? And I think the first time I ever made money was a bit of like a bit of a scheme. I think me and a buddy of mine, we started like reselling candy. As I know, Petter Mede also did. That was the first thing we connected at. He founded SumUp. So we resold candy to people, and then we realized that hey, we can do more than this. And I think what we did then, we realized that all of these like casinos, when you have this time where you have these crazy bonuses, like as long as you start an account on a casino, you get like these fucking, 1,000 euros to play for, right? And I think we were maybe 14 at the time. So what we did is that instead of selling the candy, we gave the candy for free. And in exchange of that, we got to use their school computers for like 10 minutes. We didn't say what we were going to do. And all we used it for was just get the IP, create accounts. So I think for like 2 weeks, we created like hundreds of accounts for all of these casino sites with like fake profiles and IDs and all of these things. And then I think like, next to the math class, I think we made like $2,000 in 2 weeks when I was 14. I think that was the first time I felt like it wasn't maybe entrepreneurial because it was not that legal, but it was at least the first taste of money, was pretty
What
cool.
is your take on which borders you can, or like which, like legalities you can circumvent as a founder?
When you're
and
14, you
venture?
can do whatever you want. I think we had this as a big discussion at the Maui event. Like, should you be a devil or should you be an angel? And I think you have to be like heavily aggressive to be a founder. Like, I think
Yeah.
you have to be an outlier in either way.
Yeah.
I think if you play the long game, I think the angels and being good will always win.
Yeah.
But I think like short-term things, you need to be able to do the best for your company and the best for yourself, and maybe a bit out of the box. But I think long-term, like you play a long game, and I think
Yeah.
that's gonna be the key.
And you went from selling candy to a $6 million round plus from Lightspeed.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about that. But before that, you needed to figure something out, which is product market fit,
Yeah.
right? And you actually found product market fit twice.
Yeah.
You're a real outlier, right? Like other people find it once, you found it twice. It would be amazing to hear the story a little bit, because people always, at the early days wondering, what is it really? When do you feel you have it? How do you know you have it? Because you guys were already selling before the product already existed, right? You didn't even know at that time whether the product market fit would be there.
I led agency partnerships at Google, and I always, knew that I wanted to solve this problem with autonomous marketing. Like,
Yeah.
can we do this? Can we enable like all agencies, but also all in-house teams to be able to have world-class marketing team internally? And I think the biggest thing that I saw, what maybe entrepreneurs and early entrepreneurs do wrong, is that they, spend 6 months to a year building something that they don't even know if it's a viable solution, if people like it. So I think we closed our first 15 customers just with a Figma file. So like there was no problem, there was no product, there was nothing at all, and we just told them like, hey, this is what we think the industry needs.
Yeah.
We haven't built it yet, but here's how it will look like. Would you buy it, right?
Yeah.
And then we actually sold it. So we got like money in the bank. We did that before we even put the first like line of code in.
Tell us how you did that, because so many founders, they stop right the moment someone says I'm willing to pay.
Yeah.
Which I think doesn't really mean they're willing to pay, right? Only when you have the money, they're willing to pay.
Yeah.
So what did you ask people, right? Like, did you say, wire the money now? Did you send them a contract?
Yeah.
How did you do it?
So I think we did two things. I really agree. Like if you say like, hey, we're gonna build this and LOIs and all of that bullshit, like I don't think that's maybe a really good signal. So what we did is that we said, hey, you pay up front because the money have to leave their bank account.
Yeah.
So like you pay up front and you do all of these things, but you can also add a guarantee. And I think this is what we did. Is like, hey, you pay up front. We want to build this for you for the next 3 months or 2 months. If we don't do it, you get 100% money back guarantee. Or if we don't reach KPI X, Y, Z, you get all the money back. But I think the most important
Did you pay anyone back? Did anyone want their money
yeah,
back?
we had one, $50 a month. He was a single person, and our average order value is like a couple of thousand. So the only one was he was $50 a month. I think that's the only one we
And you paid him back?
Yeah, of course. Like
Good for you.
and more than happy to, because like in the early stage, it doesn't really matter about the money, especially if you're gonna go maybe the VC route. But you need the real feedback, and you can only get that if someone pays for it. So I think like that was a huge key for us that made us move extremely quickly. And then I think like giving these crazy guarantees is also really, really good. Like I would recommend people to say, hey, you pay up front, you do all of these things, we agree on these KPIs, and if we don't deliver, we pay you 2 times back. I think like the ROI and like if you actually do the math for that, it always pans out.
2 times.
Yeah.
That is an amazing hack.
I mean, you're a mathematician. You have to make those. Like I think you can. Let's see if
it makes it so much more interesting for the customer to say, hell yeah, and it's an absolute win-win.
Yeah.
I don't only get my money back, I get twice back because I invested time.
Yeah, and
I love this.
The crazy
Never
part
heard this before. Did you invent this or?
No, I think there's a guy called Alex Hormozy, which is like maybe in the startup area, but he's an amazing seller. And
he has great ideas. I've read his books.
And he did, and this is from a book called $100 Million Offers, I think. And I think he also did the math. Like I'm suck at math. You're a lot better. But like, let's say if that would increase your conversion rate with like 50%, which it will, like guaranteed it will. And let's say if 2 people want their money back, like that cost compared to what you make is like insane. And I also noticed something is that yes, you answered me like, did we pay anyone back? And we only had one, right?
Yeah.
But we had a lot of people we had to extend it.
Mm-hmm.
We had to do, extend maybe 1 month, maybe 2 months. And what you can notice that if you work really, really closely with them and like make them feel involved, do what you say, if you don't deliver on it, they are still so happy and really like you and want to work with you and believe in it that they will extend it.
Yeah.
So like, you know, if you only, as long as you like do right by your customers, make them feel involved, like the guarantees and all of these, like it's nothing you should be afraid about.
Yeah. You are. I know we wanted to talk about PMF and everything, but
Yeah.
you're so skilled at sales. I think I want to use the opportunity a little bit to like go into this, right?
Yeah.
So, from top of funnel, like how do you actually find those people? To like, how do you increase conversion throughout?
Yeah.
What are your tips for entrepreneurs who want to get to 1 million ARR and listen to this episode?
I think one thing to think about, and what you say a lot, you always play the long game, and I appreciate that. And I think, like what I did, I led like, you know, agency partnerships with Google, and I tried to always do right by everyone that I met and all my clients. And I think that is sometimes hard in sales because you feel like, hey, you know, you have this target, you want to push product, you want to do all of these things. But
Yeah.
like, just an example, when I decided to quit, I was, you know, talking with you guys and all of these things, and I called up all of my, you know, agencies, clients that I met. I didn't pitch them. I just say, I'm going to do this thing, you know, thank you so much for the collaboration. I think 80% said, hey, can we join? And I think that only happens if you build trust, like long term. And maybe not everyone has that network, but I would just say that like first, like, you know, 10 customers, 20 customers, even like the first, you know, 50, you can probably just get from your network. So like anyone, like they know people, like just get intro. Don't do any ads, don't do any bullshit like that. Just intros all the time. I think that would be like my first, you know.
I wholeheartedly agree. I think you should exhaust intros as a channel.
Yeah.
And like the moment every single one of your friends, acquaintances, weak ties, everyone tells you, I do not have any intros more for you. That's when you start the traditional channels.
Yeah.
Until then, it's intro time.
And every person you meet, you just ask, hey, if you didn't like this or if you liked it, what are 2 to 3 people that you think is exceptional that I should meet? And it doesn't have to be like there would be value for this product or whatever, but then you can just go to them and say, hey, I have, you know, this person that, you know, said that you were the most exceptional CMO agency person that, you know, I would love to talk to you, right? I would say like that's my biggest tip in the beginning. Then I would do like how to structure an offer. Like how can you build offers? And I would, you know, Alex Ramos's book is pretty amazing. Like how do you structure an offer that feels like insanely stupid to say no to?
Yeah.
And I can walk you through our offer that we had to our agencies.
Let's go.
That was basically like this.
That's
you know?
a been there, done that idea, right? Like let's talk specifics.
Yeah, that was basically like this. You know, let's pretend you're an agency, and I say like, okay, hey, in 2 years you will have a huge problem, right?
Yeah.
Like you need to change the way you work. You bill for hours. You do manual work. All of these things. There is a huge risk that you will not be an agency if you keep going the way you want to do.
Yes.
We think that this is the solution. We will build it for you. So one guy from Spotify who's an AI engineer who's exceptional, you know, one guy from, you know, had his own agency, worked at Google. We will work for you, you know, for 3 months building out the most exceptional solution for you.
Yeah.
If it works, you pay a fraction of what you should pay if you would build it yourself. And if it doesn't, we pay all the money back. Like that's an offer that you would probably have some like, you know, wrong thing in your brain if you would say no to that.
Yes.
And so like that's how we structure it. And I think like you can always make that offer work.
Yes.
And I think that's like, I think we had like a 90% conversion rate on that, I would say.
Incredible. And how did you then go from there? You started working with people, right? And they started using the product and you started building the product.
Yeah.
And that's when we approach product market fit, right? But like, how did you walk us a little bit through the specifics afterwards?
Yeah.
What happened afterwards? What was the first thing you actually gave to customers?
Yeah. So the first thing we gave to customers was just connecting your data and be able to talk to it via AI, right?
Yeah.
So like you have all of this marketing data, you want to centralize it and you talk to it, right?
Yeah.
That was the first thing we built. And I think we took a bet that we wanted to build it multi-agentic because we wanted to be able to have it insanely scalable. That caused a lot of problems as well because of hallucinations and the LLMs weren't maybe where it's supposed to be. So I think like in the beginning, it was like a real mess of like, how do you make this valuable? How do you make sure that every number is correct and all of these things?
Yeah.
But one thing I would also recommend other people that I think we did really well is that we chose our pilots really well. And what I mean by that is that I have this, you know, example that is a bit sensitive, but I'm going to share it now. I think like the first person we ever had on the platform, we had like 2 people. So it was not like, you know, super sensitive, but they got the wrong data. So one person got their data and the other one got vice versa. And that's like an insanely big no-no, right? In marketing, that's like a huge thing. And that was like such a, you know, it could have been really, really bad.
Yeah.
And what our pilot person did, instead of like, taking advantage of that, becoming mad, all of these things, we could actually see him immediately log out of the platform. He called me up and said, hey, this has happened. I know you're going to fix it. Just call me and I will be at the platform again. And I think that is kind of what you need in the early stages. You need to like pick your partners that will give you like exceptionally good feedback, but also be there in the tough moments. That has never happened again, and it will never happen. Just to clarify that, but I think
those mistakes happen in every single startup. I know these stories. People typically don't have the courage you have to share them, but I can tell you in every single startup they happen. And you got to be ready for this, right? And because no one shares these stories, people are always like, when they happen to them, they're like, fuck, I'm completely screwed. Truth is, happens all the time.
And I think another thing, like how you can also create that if you don't have these like exceptional people in the beginning, is that something that we do is that we try to be exceptional with involving them into our business. So what that means is that we have an average response rate of 2 minutes on Slack. So that means that there's not a customer that doesn't get an answer in 2 minutes if they ping us on Slack. And then we also share the business updates. So when we were in SF, raising all of these rounds, I sent them selfies from like investors, from the grand pitch, from all of these things, right? And what that causes is that if things goes wrong, they want you so badly to succeed that they would help you. Like I think we have clients that spent 100 hours feedbacking.
That's
100
insane.
hours, which is absolutely crazy.
I
think that only happens if they feel part of the team, right?
Yes, you're building a tribe. And the customers are part of the tribe, right? And you share your moments of success and bliss with them. That's amazing. I think every startup should do it like this.
I mean, you do the same thing like with Ivor. Like when you do rev calls and all of these things, I think, they're like our customers. They spend a lot of time doing rev calls and all of these things.
Yeah, exactly. And that our employees, like our future employees, right, rev call you. And that's important, right? Like that, I wholeheartedly agree with the tribe thing, because as you say, I'm living this too. And I think every founder should do it this way. But let's continue then. So you gave something that didn't work to your first customers. How did you go from like it didn't work to it did work? And then maybe all the way to what you told me in January, right? You started last year, May. In January, you told me things broke. We have to start again. Right? So maybe we go a little bit through that journey.
I think the entire philosophy that we have had is that, like, let's say if you have, you bootstrap or you raise capital, technically the math is how quickly can you talk to users, build something, launch it to user and get feedback? How quickly can you do that until you run out of money or run out of a runway or patience or get burned out or whatever? So I think our entire thing, me and Mo, was like, how quickly can we have the iteration cycles? Because let's say if you can iterate, once every day or once every 2 days, you can technically not be wrong that many times. And I think that's the entire journey to get to PMF is like, how quickly can we have these iteration cycles?
It's learning velocity.
So that's like the entire thing we did, like how quickly can we ship things and all of that. And I think quickly we realized that this was something that the industry needed. We got 4 term sheets from our customers. 3 wanted to be angels, and I think that really showed that even if the product wasn't there yet, they were like, hey, this is going to be a thing. So I think that was the first time. That's not nearly PMF, but it was like signs that we have something, right?
Yes.
And then we iterated, and like even through January, we closed a lot of customers. We raised a round and all of these things. And I think in January, we realized that our ambition when it comes to, we want to actually run this from A to Z fully autonomous, not just the chatbot. Caused us to rethink the entire technology. Like we had shipped so much, and in the tech debt was really big, and all of these things. So we had to actually rebuild the entire thing, and that was really rough, right? But it really paid off. Like now we're in a state where, like, I would confidently say that we have PMF and that we're willing to scale. And I think that's just like
how
iteration
do you know?
cycle. I think this is like the most loose thing ever. Like people say, oh, I have PMF. No, you don't, right? And I think like you have to define that. And I would love to hear your definition.
Yes.
But I would say like when you have something that you can't keep up with the demand, when it breaks, the customers like, try to kill you, or like they can't live without it. And then the most thing that people maybe miss, especially startups in this era, is that is it actually financially making sense? Because selling $100 of credit for 50 is not PMF. It's just discounting, right?
Let us go into 2 of those things. The first thing is vibe coding. Is very fast iteration. Right? It just gets you to something really fast, but long term it typically breaks. Right? How much did you guys vibe code? And when did you like kind of see, or if even,
Yeah.
right? Did you see there was kind of a limit to it?
I mean, I'm not allowed to touch the code base anymore. So, like that explains it. No, I think like UI and all of these things, like spinning up IDs, we vibe code like 90% of it, right? And I think you
Yeah.
should in these like
Yes.
early stages. But I also think that we could have done it a bit more with a long-term vision in the beginning.
Yeah.
Like Paul Muller, which we work really closely with, he's like, he's specific, he loves certain parts on tech and how to build it.
Yeah.
And I think he also said something that I think a lot of people get wrong, is that it doesn't necessarily take longer building it right in the beginning. And I think, it's hard to that balance, because you want to move really quick, you want to ship feature and so on.
Yes.
But I would say like fundamental structure, you should try to like really think long term. But everything like UI, all of these things, I think you can spin up like 100% vibe coded.
Yeah.
And then also you have to always think about, okay, maybe things doesn't work ideally now, but let's say in 6 months, a year, like maybe you could vibe code the entire product. Then I'm not sure, but I think that balance is
Doubt
really
it,
hard.
to be honest. People are more excited, in my opinion, than they should.
Yeah.
But back to that part, vibe coding or coding new features. Like when do you decide to cut?
Oh.
And when do you launch a feature in the first place?
I think this is also one of the biggest learnings, is that having these amazing tools where you can build anything in like 2 days, right?
Yes.
It's not always the best, because it creates you to build a fucking monster when maybe the core thing was just, hey, you needed this feature to work, right?
Yes.
And I think that's something we have learned. I would say if you are shipping more feature than you kill, you're probably doing something wrong, I would say. And I think we shipped we had like 1 month we shipped 35 features and we killed like 10. And I think then you're starting to become to like, hey, maybe this is something we need to look into, right?
Yes.
But I would say like, co-building the feature with the customers is pretty good. So what basically that means is that like we have our customers sit with us in the office, and then we can actually build out features together. And what we usually do is we vibe code the UI, we give it to the user to see like how they experience with it, and then if it's successful, then we build it for real, and then we always try to kill as much feature as we release, I would say.
It's a really good framework.
Yeah.
Do you think that translates to like other, like, should any entrepreneur generally always like focus more on the killing than on the generation?
I think it's a really good question. Like, I always love building new features, and I think most entrepreneurs does. But I think it creates, like, you have to have an insane discipline to not do it. And I think if you look at all of these, like, amazing products that are really broad right now, I think they started out solving one specific problem for one specific type of user. Maybe that changed a bit in the AI era, because you can get like, the network effects of having multiple features working together and agents. But I'm not sure if I have the best answer, but I would say that, pushing more features is probably not what's going to get you to PMF.
Okay, so let's talk real PMF.
Yeah.
It's iterating features with customers.
Yeah.
Right? We've talked about the feature part. Let's talk a little bit more about the customer part. We talked about the early stages of the funnel, how to get them, how to convert them. But there's more to that, right? Like, you need to find out who your ideal customer is, and ideally also through which channel you reach them, right? So can you invite us a little bit into your discovery journey onto the customer side?
Yeah. And just one thing to note on the PMF, I think it's kind of a magical thing. Like, you have experienced this a lot of times, but I think it was like...
It's always different.
Yeah, but I also think it was a week where we felt like, oh, fuck. We built the entire product, and then it kind of just hit.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was like, a new model was released, or finally like our technical solution was like, good enough.
Yeah.
But like from a week, we saw like everything changed. And I think that was like amazing to see.
What did you feel there? Like, what was it? Give us a little bit of...
First of all, I use the product every day, right? I'm a marketer. I run our marketing with it. So I think one big thing was like...
Which is very helpful, by the way.
Of course, yeah. But I just saw that like, fuck, this is like, I can't even judge the responses that we get, because it's better than me in marketing. And that was like, oh, fuck, I'm getting a bit insecure now. But it was like, oh, damn, this is so fucking sick. And we also saw that, hey, this is gonna work. Like, our thesis that agents can do marketing end to end is gonna work. And that was like so cool to see.
Yes.
But then like user metrics, like, I think what we've always done is that we pick 3 metrics that we think symbolizes PMF. And then we try to increase them with YC users 7.5%, 10% or 12.5% week over week. Like 7.5%, you're on the way to PMF. 10%, you're doing exceptionally well. 12.5%, you're killing it, right? So we're tracking these like all the time, and I think we just saw it hit like 7.5%, 15%, 20% week over week, and then you realize, hey, we've done something right now. Feedback started coming in. People like really felt it a customer from like 1 week to another, which was really, really cool. We also had this, insane story that it was like the craziest Friday of my life. There was this customer that we'd worked for like 6 weeks with. And they'd done like a case study internally, and they were really, really psyched about what they've done with us. So I remember he texted me like the Tuesday before the Friday, and he was like, hey, I'm so psyched about the case study we've done. This was an agency. I want to be able to present this to my leadership team. And he sent me like time savings, increased quality, and all of this in the sheet. And I was like, yeah, this kind of makes sense, right? And then I didn't hear anything back to him. And then he called me up out of the blue on a Friday, and he said, hi, Elias. And I could hear his voice. He was pretty stressed. And I was like, yeah, what's up? And he was like, how did it go? And he was like, I'm fired. And I was like, what? So our customers had pitched the time savings, all of these things to his board and his agency, and he got fired on the day. And,
what?
And I was like, first of all, I was like, what is going on? And walk me through it, right? And he said that like, because the time saving was so insane and all of these things, how they've angled it, people were afraid to lose their job, right? And people started protesting. Like he said it was complete chaos. And then the board had to choose between him or the company, and they let him go, and he was kind of pissed off as well, so he didn't want to work in the company anymore.
Shit.
And that was like, maybe, like, first of all, I felt pretty bad, but he was also pretty happy. He started his own agency now, and he's using us, so it's all good. But I think
he will be the eventual winner.
yeah. But I think that kind of like insane thing when it's like, you disrupted the market, and like, of course, like, we don't think people will lose their job. We think they just have to change from being marketing specialists to being marketing engineers, right?
Yes.
But having that type of thing was probably the thing we felt like, oh wait, we've actually built something that is like 10 times different than what you have in the market. And that was really cool. So you can talk about the user metrics, all of these things, but I think that moment was like, fuck yes, PMF, there's something here.
Yeah, life is a journey between rich and abstract, right? And our brains do math abstractly, but like then there's the stories, the richness, right? And I really think product market fit, you need rich and abstraction. Abstraction is the metrics, and rich is exactly those kind of stories. Yeah,
and I think like, I think there's some like people that need to transform the AI, and some people like absolutely refuse this. And I think then it's our job to like teach them, how do you stay relevant? How do you do all of these things? Because we want to empower marketers, right?
Yes.
But yeah, I think it's like you would rather provoke some kind of emotion. I think that's really key. I think you would rather want to be loved by 20% and hated by 80% than being like, middle of everything. I think that's what you need to do in a startup.
Yes.
And I think that was like one sign where like, hey, some kind of PMF right now.
That, by the way, translates into hiring investors and all the things. So great wisdom, which maybe, is a great segue to fundraising.
Yeah.
The PMF, the true PMF, would you say that happened before or after the race?
No, like I think like PMF came from us like maybe 3 months, 4 months after the race, I would say. But it's like,
which is incredibly important, right? Like, let's pause very quickly and say, you raised pre-PMF. Yeah. Right? And most people think, oh, I need PMF in order to raise such a big round from Lightspeed, because you had many term sheets, right? Like, you guys had a really nice oversubscribed round. Yeah. And at the end of the day, it was pre-PMF.
But I think, to be honest, everyone is pre-PMF at that stage. I think there's people that don't know what the definition of PMF is and absolute bullshitters, or like,
people
who's not. So I think,
but like, honest question, did you think you were pre-PMF?
Yeah, 100%.
Before the... Right.
Yeah. I feel like we had extreme signs of like, hey, this is something that we will be able to do. But like, if you look at the definition of PMF, and especially if you look back in it, no way in hell, like,
I was asking somewhat cheekily, right? Because kind of brings me to something I really believe in. I think as investors, you develop a great bullshit detector. Yeah. And when someone tells you PMF and they don't have it, you smell it. Yeah. Right. And you guys were just super honest and authentic, right? Like, you told, look, we're not at PMF. We think we're gonna be there soon. Yeah. But if you gotta invest, you gotta invest now, right? How did you do it?
Yeah, I think first of all, I think that was probably the like, we've gotten a lot of support from like EY, and we appreciate that. But I think like, the round was something that, this is my first time ever doing a startup, ever raising capital. Yeah. I didn't even know how it worked. Like, I have like no previous experience. I think like understanding that game and understanding the math and how investors think, like just to put it in perspective, I thought they were risk averse. I thought that, hey, we need to prove that this is gonna work.
Yeah.
And then I think you were also you that explained the math, and it's like, hey, it doesn't really matter. Like it's as long as you can build like a exceptional company and all of these like get the 1000x outcome.
One false negative
Yeah.
is way more expensive in
Yeah.
opportunity cost than one less true positive.
I think like
And most people don't understand this in the confusion matrix of
Yeah.
like the decision making of an investor.
Yeah, so I think that was like one of the biggest things. But like first of all, we raised with you. We didn't have a company, right? We created the company to be able to raise with you.
Yeah.
So I think that was pretty fun, and I think that was like when you're choosing pre-seed, I think you should only choose because of the people, because
Yeah.
that's what you need.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter, right? Like we had runway, we had like 12 months of savings, saved up.
Yeah.
Just picking the right type of people, and then in the seed, of course, then it's more about like capital and so on, but also like picking the right type of partner.
Yeah.
But I think for us, it's like it was a bit of special. Like we raced with you guys, and then we went to San Francisco, and we were not planning on racing.
Yeah.
But then we just saw this, like, hey, this climate is popping off. Like we got so much interest, and we're like, let's do it now.
I remember you guys, like we started saying, let's maybe do 1 million,
Yeah.
right? And then we said, let's do 3, then let's do 5, right? And it just kept increasing.
Yeah.
And it's first ambition
Yeah.
and excitement,
Yeah.
which is so important, I think, because you always need more money than you think.
Yeah.
We can get into this in a second.
Yeah.
But what was it in San Francisco that triggered it? What? Because I think we should do this more in Europe.
Yeah.
It's a topic very dear to my heart, and I would love to understand what happened for you, where you were like, hell yeah, I want to raise more money. I want to think bigger.
I mean, I think it was more like the people that we were at. Like we had like 25 people. Everyone was like in the same stage. Everyone raised like money, and I think that it like inspires you. Also creates competition.
Yeah.
Good and bad,
Some
right?
big rounds. That came
Yeah,
out
it was
of
crazy.
this.
Yeah. But I also think that like just being able to like reason with someone who's done it before. I think like
Yeah.
it kind of became obvious that like yes, we can do this in December. We can do all of that now. But like if we have this amazing traction like now and all of the people that want to join, like why don't we just do it now and then be able to lock in and focus on the building?
Yeah.
But I also think that like SF for me was like both good and bad, I would say. And like I really like SF, but I also hate it in some cases, especially when it comes to the fundraising.
Yeah.
Sometimes it feels like that's the end goal, right?
Yeah.
And I really hope that people see that about us, and I think that's the philosophy we had, is that like, it's not nearly important, and like the only thing that matters is like actually building the best type of product and winning. So I think that's the thing that I hate about SF, but also what I was it can be good as well. But
Yeah.
but yeah.
What is your similarity that you see between fundraising and sales? How is fundraising similar to sales, and how is it different?
Yeah, I think it's like exactly the same thing, to be honest. I think it's like no difference at all. I think
Yeah.
you just have to adapt it, right? Like first of all, figure out what the
It's
people
also
care
funnel.
about. Yeah.
You fill it, you go through intros, right?
Yeah, and also like, you're sitting there next to people and it's just conviction, right? And how do you get
Yes.
that? And I think that is like, there's some like strategies that we used that was really good and some regrets that we had as well. But I think it's 100% the same as sales. But I think, what we did was really good is that we were really deliberate about following up on the questions that we were asked. So like when you go through a fundraising, you will kind of see that you get the same 5 or 3 to 5 questions. Like investors are not that different. And I think what we did really well is that, and also what you should do in sales calls is that you listen to the calls. You
Yes.
listen to the notes. And then every time it was not perfect, like absolutely perfect your answer, you walk through it. And I think we discussed a lot about this, like the mode, all of these things we discussed together.
I remember talking about how many calls can you do during a day.
Yeah, fuck,
And
yeah,
you
that
were
was
like,
bad.
15. No problem.
And
I remember like we were both sitting at 4 a.m., right?
Yeah.
Like with red eyes. But I was talking to my team,
Yeah.
right? Like my leadership team at 4 a.m. and it's okay. They've seen me with red eyes.
Yeah.
You were talking to investors sharp,
Yeah.
mentally sharp. Maybe not as sharp
No,
as you
no,
would have
no,
been
no.
at 8 a.m.
Yeah.
But you were like, I heard you like talking and it was, and then Mo came at 4:30 and was coding,
Yeah, it was
right?
pretty
You guys
crazy.
were on it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's also like back to like what made me think that like SF is good and bad. I think like I always come back to the thing that Paul Murray said us the first time I met him. it sticks with me. It's like it scarred me for life.
Yeah.
It's like you are nothing until 10 million ARR. And I
know what he'll tell you at 10 million ARR.
No, I think that's pretty rough to hear, but I think like it's so true. And so like just raising capital, all these things. Like I think in SF, like for the 7 weeks, we did like 345 every day I woke up.
Yeah.
I had the European VCs, I had our clients, I had all of these things, and then it was the US ones.
Yeah.
And I think it was just like pure grind. And I will definitely not as sharp as red eyes and all of these things, but I think that's true. I also maybe want to highlight a few regrets that we had with the round. If you're gonna raise the round, first of all, my biggest thing was like, not doing practice calls. That was probably the big one. Yeah. And I think like because we learned so quickly, like because we wrote down the questions. Mm-hmm. So like I think after like 10 calls, our question was like 20 minutes. Like the meeting was 20 minutes because we answered it in a good way. We were, we had the story down. And I think wasting the first 10 to 15 meetings with getting that slow like start, I think just like grabbing a call with someone you trust or someone and just like, hey, roast the fuck out of me and like get all of these things over. I think that was like one of the big regrets. So I think like what we would have done if we wouldn't have done it differently is like, first of all, get a coach that can coach you like in the actual sitting at mock call. And it can be a bit awkward. Like, why should you do that? But
we
like
do that now, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was your feedback or someone else's, but in the next iteration of the fundraising and grand pitch we do mock calls.
Yeah, and I think everyone has said like, how did you raise big rounds? Like the only thing you should do is like grab a meeting with Danny and like, grab as many meetings until it tells you to fuck off. So you get like exceptionally down and then you start meeting people. And I think that's like a really good way of doing it. I'm good at that. Yeah. And I think like, getting that, but I think a lot of people like the same with sales, like you don't want to get in that position where you like, you get criticized and all of these things, like just do it. It's going to be worth it. Right. And I think like you always get the same type of questions. Like we got like, hey, why won't Google do this? Why agencies versus in-house? Moat is of course a question that I think we really nailed down the answer to. With your, I think that was one of the ones that we just hadn't talked about. And then you get like a bunch of others and it's like, it's going to be different from every company, but like you will get only 5 questions or like 3 to 5 that you just have to nail, right? So I think that's how we do it.
Yeah. It's like I love doing this because my first 150 investor meetings did not go well. They were all no's, right? And I still feel the energy and the pain today. So it's very easy for me to let others feel the pain as well and be just that, like difficult investors. But as you say, at one point you kind of get the answers. And I also recommend that founders sit down with investors to formulate these answers. Because investors always get the like superficial helicopter view, like, oh, I look at this, it needs to be a $10 billion company, blah, 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 right? Like I look at the environment and the founder always looks from what do I have and what can I do with what I've got? And together you actually come up with the best answers to the questions that you get most of the time.
Yeah, put into perspective, something that I was most embarrassed about in the round is that I spent 8 hours on our deck. Do you remember this? Beautiful design. Everything was great. Sent it to you and it was like, hey, we need to redo the entire thing. And it was like, and then we sat down for like 15 minutes and we just like wrote it like in a blank, blank paper, no fancy designs, everything. Just make the headlines, just build them and like make the story work. 25 minutes and I was like, I wasted 8 hours on this shit before asking someone. And I think that's like every founder has some kind of proud and some kind of ego.
It's again iteration cycles.
The second thing that I would do again is that I didn't know that you would get that many no's. Like we met 60 people. I think we had like 20.
After your 80% customer conversion.
Yeah, fucking hell. Like it was like the most like it like broke my identity, right? It was like I think I'm a pretty good seller, and it's like
you are.
Like I think I had like we looked at the stats. I think I have like 60 investors calls.
Yeah.
And I think we got 23 yeses. Looking back on that, I think that's exceptional.
You got 23 yeses on 60 calls.
Yeah, I think like totally when we look at it, but all of them was not, of course, leads, right? But it was like
but the first ones are typically always a no, right?
Yeah, but I didn't know that, and no one told me. So I was like, I think we had like 17 no's, and I was like, fuck, this is never gonna work, right?
Yeah.
And then looking back on it, and they said, like, you had what? And I was like, yeah. And
it's one of the best rates I've ever heard.
Yeah, but like some were small and some were like big, and of course a lot of them comes after you get like an amazing lead as Lightspeed, right? But it was like I didn't know at the time that 17 no's is something that you should expect, right? But
and then still, Lightspeed, I remember this really well, like because I think I wrote the intro. 2 weeks before they sent the term sheet or 1 week, but like they were so fast. They were literally Lightspeed. Right? And you guys were like, look, we don't want to negotiate too much.
No.
Like, let's close this term sheet within a day or two. And I think that's what you did. Right?
Yeah.
So you close this super fast. And maybe walk us a little bit through your mind space then, and then I want to talk about spending the money afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like Lightspeed we chose because of like, first of all, we got them highly recommended, right? Like I think you even said like out of all of the people you met, like Lightspeed, all the tier ones, like Lightspeed is exceptional, right? And then we got an extremely good relationship and like an image of the team.
Yeah.
A lot of them were ex-Googlers as well. So they had like marketing experience and so on. And we really wanted someone who can understand like, you know, how this is going to end, because otherwise it's really hard to see the difference between kind of vibe coded like AI CMO and like a real infrastructure of like a next generation of marketing. And they really did that. And we had like a high trust and all of these things. So for us, it was more like, you know, we want to go with you guys. And I think that was like a pretty easy decision.
Yeah, and you didn't shop around and we're like, hey, let's see how many other term sheets we can get, which price we can get. You said, this feels right, right? And probably the time you won from this and the relationship you gained with them through this.
Yeah, I think the only thing we changed, like, it was super simple. Like we just walked them through and like, hey, we think this is fair. Like I think there's risks those like push up the valuation too high. Like you should do what's best. And I think we discussed this with you. Yeah. And then also like we wanted room for angels. Because yes, you know, Lightspeed will help us a lot, but like having high strategic angels in marketing and people who build companies is like really good. Yeah. That's the only thing we negotiated. So I think we pushed it up a bit and like we met some room for angels, but yeah, it was pretty straightforward.
Yeah. So suddenly you had what, 6.6 million plus customer money on your bank account. Yeah. And then what? How'd you spend it?
Yeah. I think the first thing you have to, I think, realize is like, I think, and especially if you don't have like entrepreneur friends, is that I think we had like 700 articles. I think we did a good.
What?
Yeah, I think we got like after like we got like this report, and it was like 700 articles about around. It was really good for like customers and all of these things.
Yeah.
But I think.
And you had like what, 800 people on your waiting list or something?
1,600. Yeah.
What, 1,600?
1,600. Yeah.
Okay. Shit. Yeah.
And I think it was
Not
really
bad.
good. But
by the way, an important thing, like the people that don't raise and don't announce, like we have some deep tech companies that don't do this. It's totally fine, right? But like, you can leverage an announcement big time. Yeah. And you guys did that. Yeah.
And I think that was good. But what I like, I think we're coming back to like what's the end goal, right? And I think a lot of people when they raise now we can breathe out, right? I think for us it was like the months after the race was probably the most stressful in the world, because I mean, I think I'm a person that like if someone gives me, you know, that trust, like you feel like an insane pressure, like, hey, we need to make this work, right?
Yes.
And then also like having, you know, that much, you know, raising that much money, I've never seen that much money in my life, right? It also makes it hard to like, where do you spend it on? Like it feels insane to spend that type of money, but you have to as well, and you have to like be aggressive, but also not, you know, it's not your money, right? And I think that balance is like extremely hard. And also I would say that like when it comes to when you raise from a tier 1 VC, it's really, really cool because you get a lot of opportunities.
Yes.
That doesn't mean that you should take them.
Yes.
Like I think we had like,
do you know
5
the
events every
paradox
fucking
of success?
day. Yeah. No.
You're successful.
Yeah.
Because you're very focused and purpose driven.
Yeah.
You get tons of opportunity.
Yeah.
Step 2. Step 3, you try to embark on all of those opportunities. Yeah. Step 4, you're unsuccessful because you've spread yourself too thin. Right, it's the paradox of success. Yeah. Success creates unsuccess.
Yeah, and also like more resource also creates more problems. What you said about the success paradox is like so true, and I think that's something that we've been like really deliberate with, but like not always perfect. But what that means that like I don't think I've ever gone to an event in Stockholm that is not like directly benefited like, you know, the customers. Yeah. And you get so many like all of these things, and now, you know, I'm sitting in Maui. So this is the first one. It was Maui, right? So, but I think like. That's so true, and I think you have to be extremely disciplined about that. Is that like, hey, you know, it's really good to also have little resources, because then you have to focus. So like, how do you keep that going after you get a lot of money and a lot of opportunity? And I think that's something that like I could feel from the week we raised money, that we need to think about this, right? We need to like be disciplined enough, and I think a lot of people don't realize that, and I think we did. But I also think that we made a lot of mistakes in that sense. But yeah, 100%. And also like how much people will say like, oh, this was amazing, you must do so great. And it's like, hey, we have like we're nothing until 10 million.
Nothing until 10 million.
And it's like, that thing is like how little it matters, to be honest. Like I don't want to sound ungrateful, because raising money is exceptional well, but like how little it matters at this stage. I think it's like you have to be brutal about that.
Yes. And it's a personal struggle.
Yeah.
Because the outside is, and it's great, this feeling. We as humans, we all love it. People come to us, they want to give us things, right? It's a great feeling. But there's lots of great Stoic literature about it, right?
Yeah.
It's just so tempting to stay in that feeling.
Yeah.
And dude, I've seen so many founders now. They raise these superstar rounds and they're nothing today. All of their ARR crashed, everything, and they didn't recover ever from this because they just kept chasing this feeling, right? And what you guys did is something different. We'll get to this in a sec. But what I really want to talk about is one of the big chunks of where you spend the money is team.
Yep.
Right? So many people who listen to this, they're either before their round or like just after. What's the kind of advice you want to give to anyone who is ready to hire?
Yeah, I think first of all, when it comes to like spending money, I think we discussed this a lot, and I think we discussed a bit about like the zero sum game, like winner takes all, and I think that like can be true in some cases with startup, is that like we pay exceptionally well, and I think that could be both good and bad, right?
Yeah.
I think you would rather have a person who's like the top 1% and pay him 5 times more if you have to, right? Than have someone who's top 10%. Because especially with AI, like the thing
it's
is
a
so
power law
exponential.
now.
Yeah.
And AI is amplifying the
Yeah.
power law. So the percentile differences make a bigger difference than like the percentage you would add to the wage. I agree.
Yeah, and also like the startup in climate in Stockholm is so like you have to be insanely aggressive. But also you have to, you can't spend money on stupid shit, right? And I think that like balance between like how aggressive can we be, and because if you don't do anything, you die regardless, right? And I think that's something we need to think about. But yeah, hiring is of course something we've like had a lot of mistakes in, but also something that I think we've gotten a really good framework for it now, which I think is pretty good.
It's a pretty good framework.
Yeah, I mean you recommended it, so.
I wrote it.
Yeah.
No, you mean the Who framework or the blueprint? But you use both, from what I understand.
Yeah,
right?
so I think we have the blueprint with like the eWord framework, and then I asked around to all of our angels and people, and one like quiz thing was like read the book Who from page to page, and that's what we did. And the Who framework is something we implement and runs all of our processes now.
Yes.
And I think that's been a game changer.
Yes.
So first of all, there's some like rules. Don't ever outsource hiring. Never hire a recruiter. We did. Don't do that.
Did you outsource hiring?
No. Yeah, we did. We'll never do it again.
Never, to any listener in this podcast.
Never
Ever outsource hiring.
Yeah, and I think like it's more like recruiter can be like they can pull pipeline and you can think about time save, but like you don't have to. Same with customers. Like it's like that's doing cold outreach before you have talked to your network. Yeah, you don't do it. In that sense. So I think that thing, and then also it talks a lot about like reference calls. I think like how people are suck at that and how you do that in a really nice way.
Yes.
And then also how you build a framework.
Yes.
And the Who framework is basically you scope extremely clear what the outcomes of this role should be.
Yes.
And how you define it is that you want to find A players, right? So the entire thing is that like you write down an outcome that only 10% of people has a 90% likelihood of achieving, right? And within a 6 months or a month or a year period. Yes. And then you write it down as like, hey, closed X amount of ARR for this type of customer, like extremely crisp. And then you write 3 things, like 1 to 3 things that you want the role to achieve. And then there's a few more things. But what that creates is that, first of all, we never hire someone if we haven't written the scorecard. In November, we went out to hire a founder in GTM, right?
Yes, and that was kind of pre-hiring at Ivor, right?
Yeah, pre-hiring and also pre the framework, right?
Yeah.
And if we would have the framework, we would have realized that we wouldn't be able to scope out exactly what we wanted this person to achieve, so we shouldn't have hired them.
Yes.
And instead we went out, that is we didn't hire someone, but we wasted time on that. So I think that type of framework is exceptionally well and something that we would recommend like everyone to do. And also I think we have a really great module at Ivor as well with that type of thing.
That's so great to hear.
Yeah.
And can you walk us practically a little bit through the process? So before you do a hire, what do you scope exactly? Which steps do you go through? Then also, how do you fill the funnel? How many people do you talk to? How many ref calls, right? Like the whole thing.
Yeah, so how we do our process, firstly, the scorecard. So 1 to 3 things, clear outcomes. And then everyone in the team gets that. Then based on that thing, we then go out and we do a lot of poaching now. So like we use our network, we use the inbound that we get, and then we just like, try to pick the most, best people that we think would be able to achieve the scorecard. And the scorecard helps a lot with that because you can kind of clearly see signals like, hey, it's the outcome, it's not the experience. Like no one gives a fuck if you have 10 years of experience or something. You're like, no, can you achieve this outcome?
Yeah.
And then we do a lot of like, founder-led like outreach and so on. And how we do the process is that we have directly one screening call. So like 20 minutes, just get a feeling, right? Then we have something practical, a case. And when I'm hiring for sales, that's basically selling me. I pretend to be, a customer, and they're supposed to sell me in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And then we go quickly towards a trial. So we don't hire anyone who hasn't worked with us. So we pay them to take off from their work. We do a week if they can. We fly them from wherever they are, and we work with them. And I think that's like the only way you can do it. For salespeople, they go in, they have to close a deal, right? Or like, they can close more than that, but that's the thing. And for tech people, they build a feature and they ship it. And I think that's how we do it. And then the learning here is that how can you shorten the process? Because you need to have it extremely, extremely quick. And then after we have agreed on someone, we do a lot of ref calls. So we don't hire anyone that we can't do like backdoor references with. And we try to like call their kindergarten teacher or like whatever, right? And spend a lot of time on that.
Yeah. What is the funnest conversation you had with a kindergarten teacher about a potential hire yet?
I had someone who recommended someone like, I don't know if it was their, we didn't hire this person, but I had someone recommended their like mom to talk to. That was like the weirdest thing ever. Like I call her up, right? But yeah, I don't think we've had that many crazy stories. But I think the people that we got like reference call, like, hey, you can call my mom or whatever, like that's pretty crazy.
And let's also talk about the probabilities of hiring.
Yeah.
Because you hire people and it's not always right.
Yeah.
So what happens after the hire?
Yeah.
Because hiring is one part, retention, firing is like a whole other part to get right? You can't always get it right, but you can make sure that 100% of the good people stay and 100% of the bad people leave.
Yeah.
How do you achieve that?
I think on the 100% of bad people leave, I think the scorecard helps because you actually have what this person should achieve. So it's pretty straightforward. And they also like one thing, we show the scorecard to them.
Nice.
And that disqualifies a lot of people as well.
Yeah.
Because if they see this insane scorecard, I have to close $2 million in the first month, like for the first year, like I can't do this, then they disqualify themselves.
Yes.
And when you have this scorecard, you can follow up every month, right? You can say like, okay, hey, this is what we said you want to do. Have you done it? And how do we get there, right? And that's like super simple. And I think you should just like, fire fast, right? For both sakes, is better. And how you make the good people stay, I think you just like giving them, freedom to execute. I think that's what people that are exceptional want to do. Yeah. Like, how do you make them work with the best type of people, and how do you make them not have to go through approvals or anything like bullshit things like that? Yeah. And like, how do you make sure that they can like, if they get an idea, they can ship it the next day? I think that's what people want, right?
Yeah. To tease you on the previous one a little bit, Nietzsche once said, "You cannot become who you are by knowing who you will be already." Right? So you kind of have to grow a little bit into your potential.
Yeah.
How do you know when you give people these crazy goals? Yeah. That you don't optimize for overconfidence instead of potential.
Yeah, I think that's also why we work with them. You can clearly kind of tell if someone's like highly intelligent, and that's usually a pretty good correlation with if they're gonna learn quickly. And then also like working a week together, you can kind of see how quickly they learn. Yeah, because they should go for a week. Like they should learn every day, right? And then all you should look at is like, do you get energy from working with this person? I think that's like one of the most important things. And then like, do they have an exponential curve? Yeah. Like the first person we hired him, like he was still doing his masters. So he was like half working with us, half doing his thing. We paid him far more than average, right? And he's been like exceptional, like insane, right? He leading projects like from day one, all of these things. So like if you find these good people, give them ownership and see like exponential curves, I think you're pretty good.
I love it. So any final recommendations to founders listening to this? If you could redo the whole thing. Yeah. From like, the very beginning where you had those 20 customers, but you didn't have a product yet. Yeah. What would be like the main things you'd do differently today?
I mean, hey, like we've gone through a lot of mistakes. I would fix those mistakes.
And some of them you have to do.
Yeah. But I think we talked about this a lot. I think like there was this podcast with Naval, and what he got asked the same questions, and I think this is what the first thing I saw when I started my own company, and I said like, I need to think about this. I still haven't nearly nailed it, but it's like he said like I would do everything exactly the same, but I would do it with less pain and suffering because that was optional. And I think that's like such a nice thing for entrepreneurs. Like hey, pain is good. Like you should embrace it, right? But like we're sitting here in Maui. Like it's pretty amazing that we get to do these things. Like we get to work with amazing customers. We get to push ourselves to like the brink of fucking burnout. I think that's like an extreme privilege, and to be able to stop and like really like, hey, this is really cool that I get to be in this. I have something that I could have done that a lot better, right? Like SF for me was like a fucking blur, right? I just remember it was chaos, like panics all the time, right?
Yeah.
And I think like being able to stay up and like, fuck, this is a privilege. And I think that's the only thing I would have done
Yeah.
differently.
And I would almost adapt Naval's framing, and I would say the suffering is necessary for learning.
Yeah.
It needs to be emotional, but you need to embrace it. You need to feel it through to completion, and you need to be stoic about it, knowing that this is your body telling you something. This is your body learning, and to feel the beauty in the suffering, because without pain, no gain. Without bad, no good.
Yeah, of course. And I think all of it, like pain can be like exceptionally well. Like I, fucking, love that in some sense. But I think it's more about like thing like, realizing that, hey, you chose this, you're fucking in the middle of it, like just fucking go, right?
Yes.
And I think also like stopping up, because otherwise time moves pretty quickly when you work these like hours, and like being able to enjoy these things and all of that, like, you should do this for the next 10 years, and you should do that by fucking, high, low, lows, Yeah, but you get what I mean.
That's what the VC thinks.
Yeah.
10 years.
Yeah, no.
You can build an NVIDIA for 40 years.
But I mean, you also
And
said
you might will.
in Austria. You said this thing like, didn't you say like, living life to the fullest is that there's a distance between the highest highs and the lowest lows.
Yes.
And that's like a really brutal thing to say, because it can be pretty like, all psychologists will say, be in the middle, right? Like, but I think that's like such a fucking epic way of saying it. And I think that would be like,
dude,
that's how we should do it, right?
Would you watch a movie that is just this?
Hey, I know. I'm with you. And I think I
Like,
tried to
no
embrace
way.
that, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, like knowing that, hey, I chose this, this is, enjoy the pain, enjoy all of it. I think that's pretty cool.
It's good to recap this, right?
Yeah.
Like it's good as Faust.
Yeah.
It's I'm part of that force that eternally works evil and therewith eternally does good.
Yeah.
And I think that's Mephisto's way of saying, hey, like we need these low moments to have these like super high moments. And it's the oscillation that makes life last.
And also, I remember your speech, like, hey, pick the people. I think that's like the only way you can do this high highs and low lows is like the people that you have around you. And I think that's like also one thing that I would
just
do.
makes it so much more exciting.
Cool.
Yeah. Dude, that was incredible.
Thank you so much, man. Thanks for having me.